Hey, if you're in Saigon and you love great beer like me, you need to visit the Seven Bridges Brewing Company. They got 2 tap rooms in the city and they're perfect for meeting up with friends or if you're visiting as a tourist, checking it out for a cold beer at the end of a hot day. And these aren't just any beers, they've been named the top Vietnamese brewery at the Asia Beer Championships, so you know that you're drinking the best. I recommend trying out the Hai Van Haze, that's definitely my favourite by far. And if you're feeling hungry, their pizzas are the ideal match to go with your cold craft brew. They're fresh, simple, and I'm not kidding, they are seriously good. 2 tap rooms in Saigon, award-winning beer, and some of the best pizzas in town. It's everything you need for a great night out. Let me know if you're going, and I'll maybe see you there.
We usually go to Dalat with our dogs.
Who's maybe making all the noise in the background if you can hear.
Places.
Doing an episode of Underrated, Overrated, Properly Rated about Dalat.
There's a lot to do there. There's like adventure sports, there's cafes, there's restaurants. It's great on a motorbike.
I just remember like being on the back and shivering my ass off.
Doing an episode of Underrated, Overrated, Properly Rated about Dalat, where we've just been to, so go check out that video if you haven't seen it already. It's just come out. It's an amazing place in Vietnam, but let's find out what people think. Is it properly rated, underrated, or overrated? I'm excited to see what people say. Don't forget, turn on notifications, subscribe so you never miss an episode. Thanks very much for tuning in, and let's go find out what everyone has to say. Let's go. Xin chào. We're here for another Saigon Sunday Sessions. We are here at Cafe des Stags, or des Stagiaires, as I like to call it. We're here with Dan Jones, long-term supporter of the podcast and a Patreon member. If you want to be a Bob Saudale like Dan, go to patreon.com/Vietnam podcast. But today, we're doing something that Misha has suggested, come up with. I love the idea. We've done one episode before. We did properly rated, overrated, or underrated. I think I said that in the wrong order.
Yeah, it's underrated, overrated, properly rated.
There you go, that one. And last time we did cocktail bars in Saigon.
Cocktail bars in Saigon.
And today we are going to do Dalat, because we've just come back from Dalat. And if you haven't seen that video, make sure you go and check it out. We're going to start off with Dan. Dan, what do you think? Dalat, underrated, overrated, properly rated?
I reckon underrated because people give it a bit of a bad rap, like it's crowded, it's busy at holidays, but every time I've been, it's been chilled, great escape from the city, love it.
So what do you do in Dalat?
Just chill, basically stay just outside the city, enjoy the nature, walks, get a motorbike, drive around, and just relax basically, night market for some food, chill, that's it really, crazy house.
Crazy house,
really,
yeah, well, we just did that for the first time, that was amazing. Alright, so we're going to move to Adrie.
I think for most people on the tourist trail, it's probably underrated. I think Vietnamese people would say it's properly rated because they love it. And I don't know what the expat vote would be. For me, I really like it, so I think it's probably underrated. I think Dalat has a lot of possibility in terms of what you want to do. Generally, the weather is better than Saigon, or it's cooler than Saigon, so it's just a nice dichotomy usually from here. When we were just there at the end of December, all I was seeing on social media was like all these people posting reels about how their like Vietnam trip was ruined because they were going to Da Nang and Hoi An and coastal cities that are still in the midst of rainy season and have like really bad weather. But if you go inland a bit, if you go a little bit higher to Dalat, the weather was beautiful. There was a little bit of clouds, but no rain. Blue skies, a little bit cooler. And it's just really pretty, like the scenery is really pretty. There's a lot to do there. There's like adventure sports, there's cafes, there's restaurants. You have to seek some of it out. It's great on a motorbike. Yeah, so I think it's underrated. It's my vote.
So I've been to Dalat a handful of times, most recently just a few months ago, and I loved it. Especially this most recent trip, it just hit a little different. I remember having good memories in Dalat. This last trip was like, this place is fucking beautiful. It's amazing. Yeah. So I was leaning underrated, but then the more I think about it, like when I told people that I went to Dalat recently, everyone was like, "Oh, that's awesome! I love Dalat. It's amazing." As far as the people I know, expats who live here in Saigon or around Vietnam, I think it's properly rated. I think it's amazing, and everyone thinks it's amazing. That's the definition of properly rated. Unless you don't think it's amazing, then it's definitely underrated.
Do you think travelers or visitors even even know about Dalat?
I don't care about tourists.
Okay, fair.
I think, from what I can tell, the purpose of these pods and videos is mostly for tourists coming to Vietnam. So if we can educate them based on our experiences living here, I think we're doing a good job. So if tourists don't realize that Dalat is awesome, then hopefully they realize, oh fuck, we should go there, instead of like, not necessarily instead of anything. I love Hoi An and Da Nang as well. But yeah, it's a cool spot. Underrated if you don't know about it, but I think everyone who's been to Dalat recognizes how awesome it is. And it is awesome. It's got the mountains, it's got just pack a jacket. Don't be like me and forget to pack a jacket, because those grab rides home at night on the back of a grab bike in short sleeves, that got fucking cold.
Yeah.
Fine during the day, walking around a little chilly, not too bad.
Good advice.
Yeah, short sleeves at night.
It's
not
cold
great.
on the bike.
Oh yeah.
Let me share our story of that, because that is 100% good advice. When we were maybe the first or the second trip, and we'd been on a bike all day, and it's sunny and it's hot and it's warm and you're fine, and then we started moving back towards Dalat, sun went down, and we were in the same clothes. And if you're from Saigon like us, and if you live here, you just forget that it's always hot here, it's always warm. Even at 1 in the morning, you can be on your bike in shorts and t-shirt. Maybe it'll be a little bit cooler, but it's just generally warm. It's shorts and t-shirt weather all the time. And then we were in Dalat, and the sun went down, and honestly, I don't think I was shivering
No,
on
it gets
the bike.
proper cold, and I'm Canadian. I can handle a little bit of cold, but it gets proper cold at night because I didn't have a bike, so I was on the back of a grab bike from wherever back to my hotel. It wasn't like long rides. Dalat's pretty small city center, but yeah, I just remember like being on the back and shivering my ass off every night. And I was only there for a few days, so I didn't want to buy a jacket when I got there. But in retrospect, just word to the wise: bring a jacket to Dalat.
It was the first time where it was noticeably different between like night and day. Like that phrase of night and day, it was so different. Daytime fine, nighttime horrible.
It's literally like night and day.
Literally like night and day. It was crazy. So when you go to Dalat, what do you do? What's your main spots to do in Dalat?
I drink
Apart
beer.
from where do you go drinking?
So this last time was my first time going to a few different places. Drinkery, Gemination, I think those are the same owners. Drinkery is more of a restaurant with a craft beer focus. Gemination is definitely a cocktail bar. Really cool spot. My buddy Frank has a place, Le Alpi. Great restaurant. He cures his own meat and makes his own cheese. If you can catch him on a day when he's open, it's a great spot. He closes a lot. He just decides to close sometimes. It's a running joke. This is a really cool place, Du Sam. It's a coffee shop on the ground floor and a little craft beer bar on the second floor. And they've got all the craft beers from Hanoi and Saigon. Really cool spot, really friendly owner. Down Under, if you wanna watch the sport. If you're into the sport, Down Under Sports Pub in Dalat. Yeah, those are some of my more favorite places. I didn't get a chance this time, but David earlier today just showed me a memory from 5 years ago of going up to Coho Coffee, like the coffee farm up in the mountains. Fresh coffee up there, obviously, straight from the source. It's awesome. Yeah, just some of my more favorite places to eat and drink in Dalat.
Apart from all the drinking places, which we do like as well, what are some of the other places that we've been to recently or over the years outside of Dalat?
Outside of Dalat, I think if you go outside of the city center, so you'll need either a bike or you can, if you don't have a bike, you can get a taxi, but find on Google Maps or something. So many beautiful coffee shops outside, not walkable usually from the city center, but that's something that we love to do is find the more scenic ones that look over the valleys or the mountains. There's a really cool sunset bar. Sorry to add to the bars, but I think it's called 420 Sunset Bar, and it looks over.
I heard about that one. I didn't make it, but
we didn't go this time, but we've been a couple times before, and it's beautiful. Really good cocktail bar, very chill, and just looks over the sunset.
It's called 420, I would imagine it's chill.
Yes.
I forgot to mention Kim Kwan. It's a Vietnamese restaurant. It was fucking amazing. The chef used to work for our friend Logan here in Saigon, and then he opened this place in Dalat. Some of the best Vietnamese barbecue food I've had, and I've had a lot. Fantastic. If you're in Dalat, Kim Kwan, look it up.
We usually go to Dalat with our dogs.
Who's maybe making all the noise in the background if you can hear.
Some places, although Dalat is very dog friendly, which is why we take her. So some of the other places, really good food, really good restaurants. You can go to almost any of the kind of touristy destinations with dogs as well. So there's a cable car that you can ride that's quite cool. You can walk through loads of gardens and spots with beautiful flowers. Dalat is where not all, but a lot of the flowers for Vietnam are grown because of the cooler climate. So you can go to gardens. There's 2 or 3, I think 3 waterfalls in the vicinity that are quite famous. So Dat Lana is like one of the biggest ones, and it's quite close to the main city. And there's like an alpine roller coaster there. You walk down to get to the waterfall. It's massive. It's beautiful. There's Elephant Waterfalls, I think, which is a bit of a drive away, maybe 40 or 45 minutes away, south, I believe. So you can either get a bike to drive there, or you can get probably hire a car or a driver to take you there. There's another one, I can't remember the name at the moment, another waterfall. Then there's a lake that's just out of the city center called Thuyen Lan Lake, I think. Pronunciation's not great, but again, coffee shops, walks around there, really beautiful. It's really nice to drive around there. We found in the pines. You can have some nice food and just be in the trees and in the cooler climate. What else? I'm not sure.
What was your final rating? I forgot what you said already.
I said I think it's underrated because every time we've been to Dalat, we've been probably 6 times. Like you can always find something different to do, and there's a lot to do. There's stuff for families, there's stuff for couples, there's stuff for people that like to drink, there's stuff for people that don't like to drink, there's people that like to eat. To go to night markets, you can avoid the night markets if you want to. You can do nature, you can do.
The night market, is that just like the regular market but at night?
It pretty much sells strawberries and sweaters. That's like they sell, like strawberries and sweaters. So if you forgot your jacket, go to the night market.
I feel like the night market is maybe the worst thing about Dalat.
It's definitely overrated.
That
The
part
night
is
market's
overrated, right? So it's like, how do you even describe it? It's just a bunch of tat sold in the main street.
Always packed as well, isn't it? It's always crowded
Always
with
packed.
people. Hard to walk through.
Why? Yeah, hard to walk through. Always busy. And when we were there last time, it just sold absolute shit. See, this is what I think is a lot of people think of Dalat. They think of the main town and they think of that night market. And so I personally...
So the best part of that's not like the main, it's like the outside, the surrounding areas is the best part about it. Say 420 coffee shop. I've not been there, but I've seen it on Instagram. It looks fantastic.
Yeah.
Just driving around, finding coffee shops, restaurants, middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
It's the best thing about it.
And what was your final decision?
I think it's underrated. Obviously, opposite to Misha, I've got friends who have been there, probably having just been to the night market, and they didn't like it. It's busy, it's crowded. I don't think they've explored it properly.
Yeah.
That's why I think underrated.
I would agree. So I think mine would be underrated as well, because not just for tourists. I feel like it's not on the tourist trail so much, but even the people who live here, and even for us, we've been 5-6 times, I think 5 times now. There is so much to do there in Dalat, and so much, like you're just saying, like outside. As soon as you get on a bike or a tour, it's like that last trip we went on, we did stuff we'd never done before. Went to coffee shops we'd never been to, did a sunrise thing we'd never done before. That's what I think Dalat. Yeah, I know. I can't think. How do you describe it? It was called cloud hunting. So you go up to this highest peak, and you're trying to find the beautiful clouds coming over the mountains. But we didn't find any clouds, so it was a bit of a womp. So my final opinion, I think it's underrated because there's so much to do there. I think people in Saigon don't appreciate it. Adrie made a good point that we should ask someone from Vietnam what did they think of it, because they might have a completely different opinion.
You said people in Saigon, so yeah, I'll just correct you there. Like
expats in Saigon, yeah. I think don't. Final thoughts from Misha?
I think I gave all my thoughts already. Properly rated, because it's amazing.
You think properly rated? So you're the only one that's different?
I think everyone thinks it's awesome. Yeah. I understand what you're saying, why you think it's underrated. I agree with all your points. I just think everyone I talk to thinks that Dalat's awesome. Yeah. And it is properly rated for me.
I think there's just so much stuff to do that people don't fully appreciate, like how amazing it is.
I was just saying, I think the reason, well, I speak for myself, not you, but underrated because I think Vietnamese people and maybe expats, like Misha said, would properly rate Dalat. But I think it's underrated for international or tourists that are coming from other places. Part of the reason we say that is we met a guy when we were in Phong Nha. He was from Australia, and he was like, oh, I went to Dalat. And we were like shocked. We were like, wait, what? And he was like, I loved it. It was amazing. It was so relaxed, blah, blah, blah. And then, again, like I said, there were loads of people that had Hoi An and Da Nang and all these coastal places on their bucket lists. And in December, unfortunately, it's still rainy season. So you're getting really shit weather for these things that you might have planned for a year. And actually, maybe you don't get to go to Hoi An, but if you get to go to Dalat, but you don't really know about it, go inland a bit.
I'd say underrated, just because I've got, I don't know, idiot friends who maybe just don't rate it as well as they should.
What do your friends think of Dalat? If
Well,
you
no,
bring
it's
it up in a group, what do they say?
To be fair, it's 50-50. Some do like it, but some think, oh, what's the point? But I think it's just because, again, maybe people have been once, they've spent 2 or 3 days there, they've gone to the night market, they've stayed in the city. Also, they've probably gone in a Vietnamese national holiday, which makes it a lot busier. But that's the same, I know that's the same Phu Quoc, Da Nang, isn't it, Hoi An, wherever you go. If it's a holiday, it's...
Wait, Dan's made a really good point here. All right, underrated, overrated, properly rated. Dalat on a Vietnamese public holiday.
I've never been to Dalat during a public holiday, so I couldn't say. But I would imagine it's pretty hectic.
Avoid the city center.
Yeah, I'd say pick a nice quiet weekend to go to Dalat. Great point.
Explain a little bit more. What do you mean by that on a Vietnamese public holiday?
I've not been, thankfully, I've got more common sense, but it's absolute carnage, isn't it? Just bikes everywhere, people everywhere, just can't move. You're probably paying 4 or 5 times the price for a hotel. It's just not worth it, is it? It's just, I can see then you'd be saying overrated. If you go during a test, you'd be saying overrated.
But this is what I think is one of the beauties of Dalat, right? So if you go during a Vietnamese holiday, public holiday, the centre where that night market is and all around there is going to be absolute chaos and not fun. But every time we've been to Dalat, I've found that as soon as you leave Dalat centre, because it's so big, there's so many hills, there's so many coffee shops, there's so many places to go, as soon as you leave, it doesn't feel that busy, right?
Yeah. That's it, yeah. You just that's like I said, bro, just get out there.
Just gotta go. Yeah. So I think, what are we saying overall? Properly rated? Underrated? I'm saying underrated, you're saying?
Underrated as well.
Underrated. So I think that's overall, Dalat is underrated. Let me know what you think. Do you agree? Is Dalat underrated, overrated, properly rated? Leave a message in the comments, send me a message. Thank you very much for tuning in. Remember, follow us on all the social medias. Hit follow, subscribe, turn on notifications so you never miss a future episode. Thank you so much for tuning in. And if you want to become a Pop Saturdayer just like Dan, then go to patreon.com/Vietnam podcast and you get episodes like this early. If you're in Saigon, we're going to go out for pub crawls, cocktail crawls. All right, thanks. Cheers.